everybody. This is Earl and Steph with you for Conversations. Hello to the drum community and anybody else who might be listening in. We're here today to talk about something that is important for all of us and that we've worked through and continue to work through for many decades. It's called work-life balance. What do you say, Earl?
I say this is a really important topic for musicians. It's a really important topic for a lot of people in life. It's a really important topic for relationships, husbands and wives. By the way, we have just crossed our 40th year of marriage.
I don't know what he's talking about. He's making me look old. I can't be married 40 years.
Well, I married you when you were 2.
Bad boy. We do want to talk about relationships today and how to make the work-life balance happen in a way that causes your relationship to flourish.
Right.
You know, because, I mean, it seems like most of us these days are like, juggling 9 grapefruits, right? And, or spinning 10 plates.
And, and the appearance, because I'm on YouTube and you're on YouTube and we do other things, people think that all I do all day long is make drum covers and stay on YouTube all day long.
Well, now they know the truth, No, I'm kidding.
No, when in actuality, what life really is family, it's church, it's friends, it's work, it's the day job, and it's always been these things. This has always been part of our life.
And all of these things are important.
Right.
It's not like you can take one out and say, well, that one's not important, so I'm just going to focus here a little bit. But we have some things that we've done that work and that have worked for us for a long time. And I thought we'd share a little bit of our journey. Everyone is going to be just a little different than us because we're just, no one's us, right? So everyone's got something a little bit different. But we figure between having a love that's deep, and we want to always keep love in our life. Ever since we've been married, we've said, this is the most important thing. This is our priority. So all of the other very important things in our life come second to each other.
Right.
Each other. And I think that's what's made it work. Because when there have been times when you were super busy, had many, many, many opportunities coming your way, and we wanted to take them all, right? But we also needed to make money to keep afloat and everything else. It could have really gone wonky there. Right. But what we started to do, and I think we alluded to this another conversation, but we started to do our second year of marriage is say, no matter how much we don't talk during the day, no matter how much we don't go away or spend time on our relationship, once a day in the morning before you leave for work, we're going to touch base. Today, they're calling that the 2-minute rule. For us, we decided even if it's 2 or 3 minutes, we'll have our coffee together. At that point, I wasn't a coffee drinker. I was only drinking, brown water, tea, but I graduated. But we started with that kind of 2 to 3 minutes of just touching base. How was your day yesterday? What happened? What's new? To talk to anybody interesting? And that started us going, forget it. That went to the second year and the third year. It went to half hour and an hour.
Let's talk about how we got there. Because I think that that was in the first couple years of our marriage, we came to that conclusion. We needed that. And we've kept it. So I think that's the secret. I think that's part of our little secret of how we kind of stay close.
That's the secret sauce?
I think it's the secret sauce. And we've told many people about this, but it's something that's hard to do. But what we realized was what we loved about each other was we were friends with each other first. And then we became other than friends, more than friends.
We did.
And then we got married. And what happens in the early years of marriage is life takes over. It's work, making enough money to live, children, all that stuff. And we jumped right into that. That was part of the beginning of our marriage, and it has never stopped. It's still there today. When I'm today having my daughter and my son-in-law and 4 grandkids over today for lunch. I mean, we weren't even sure we were going to do the show today, but that was the goal, was to do it. So with that said, those were the things that were driving our life, work and trying to make enough money and trying to live. And we were not in touch with one another. We were realizing that at night it didn't work because I was too tired and you were too tired from running around with the kids. And this was the solution, was to find a time at the beginning of the day when we would talk. And that's something that we've come to call coffee time for us. That's our time where we just come together and spend time together. And now as we've gotten older in life and we have more, we get up early. That's some of you know how early I get up too. Just by the way I answer YouTube stuff sometimes, you realize that I'm up very early, we get up very early, and we are able to spend an hour together, you know.
And sometimes even more, because it's gotten to the place, and it happened many, many years ago. It's not like this has just happened since the kids are older.
No.
You know, remember when the kids were like, you know, 5 and 7 and 10 and whatnot, banging on the doors in the morning. We're like, we'll be out in 5 minutes, kids. And we're trying to talk. Right. We're trying to finish our conversation.
So that was our way. Let's not get too deep into the actuals, but let's talk about what it was our way of connecting. And connecting was the first part of being able to engage each other in life. So we're talking about work-life balance. See, all during those years, the early years especially, I was trying to make it as a musician. I was trying to find a way to play drums for a living. I was wanting to do music because that's what I studied in college. And you didn't discourage me. At one point, you know, we weren't making enough money, and you were like, you need to get a gig. That's what we need to do. Do other work outside of the day gig, get work. So you encouraged me to get into that whole thing and stay in it. And I was doing it. Early years of our marriage, the first 10 years, I was in 3 bands. I was playing at church. We had a band together. I was in an original band that did a record in Nashville. I've talked about that many times on all my shows. And all that stuff was happening in the midst of having 3 kids and kids growing up and coming along. And in that, we found that we needed to stay more connected so that we kept our goals aligned. Because if your goals are not aligned,
you start changing, he starts changing, then all of a sudden 3 years down the road, people are saying, what's the matter with you guys? And we say, oh, he just changed, and he changed, she changed, and we you know, we have to get a divorce. And we didn't want that to happen to us. We didn't want to, like, we knew we were going to change because we're young people, we're in our 20s, we're growing, everybody changes. But the key being, let's keep each other abreast of the changes that are going on inside. Like, hon, I'm feeling this way. I know I've been here with the kids for 10 years doing this and writing my stories, my newspaper articles, but I'm sensing that I might want to go back to school. You know, that you know, if that comes out of the blue like that, you know, and a wife or a husband just decides to go sign up for grad school and then says, you know, oh, by the way, I'm not going to be here 3 nights a week. I mean, there's problems with that. You need to talk things through and talk things over.
As much as being in 3 bands and you saying, what are you doing? I'm in 3 bands. I'm trying to make my music career work.
No, you wouldn't have done that if I didn't say to you, let's make the sacrifice. We know we're not going to, we want to be together on Saturday nights and you've got a gig. Well, let's make the sacrifice. You go to the gig, you know, and I think that that's also a part of it. We're going to talk about a few keys today. That initial key, a foundation of connecting every single day, heart to heart.
Right.
Not just body. So a lot of times people say, oh, you got to connect, you know, body to body. You need to have a lot of time together like that. We're not even going there or talking about that. We're talking about like a preliminary kind of making sure you know what your loved one's heart is, what's going on in your loved one's heart. What's she feeling today? What's he feeling? Was his day frustrating yesterday? How can I help him? How can I pray for him? You know, and we had that going our whole entire lives, so that early friendship, which turned into romantic love and marriage, still has a very strong foundation in friendship, to where, like, we know, like, we don't go around telling people, well, we're best friends, but we know that if you weren't there in the morning, if I wasn't there in the morning, it's like occasionally, maybe very, very occasionally, we've missed the morning coffee.
Well, even when I was on the road a lot.
Yeah, but when we do, it's like something's wrong.
We didn't really miss very often.
No, but when we do, I think 2 weeks ago we missed because I had a toothache or something, and I slept in, or something happened, and we were like, you had to be out at 6 a.m. I don't know what happened, but that next day we were like, both felt off.
Well,
right?
we didn't get a long coffee time. We got a very short one.
5 minutes.
Right, but we still found 5 minutes to drink some vegetable juice and have a little coffee. And then,
I'm sure that doesn't sound too good to them.
No, maybe it doesn't, but that's just one of the things I do now that I'm old in life.
Got to keep healthy.
Got to stay healthy.
Stop calling yourself old, dude. You're not an OG. You're my guy. Okay.
That's fine. That's good. Right. So let's talk about this idea of work-life balance. So back in the 90s, let's do the 80s, there was a lot of me running after what I wanted and what I thought I wanted. And then by the time I hit 1990, I was in a band, and my other part of my career, my, you know, training and safety career, kind of started happening. And it was my way of getting out of the field and not climbing telephone poles anymore. And I embraced that. And the band I was in was like, well, we want to play in clubs, and we want you to like work every night of the week for $50 a night.
Till 2 in the morning.
Till 2 in the morning. And like, I couldn't do that, have a wife and 3 kids. It wasn't working. So I bailed.
And I didn't have to ask you to.
No, you didn't have to ask me.
Why? Because your priority was?
My priority was family. And because it was family, I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the day gig. And I'm going to realize that maybe this is the change in life where I have to make it. And I was talking to a friend this past week, and I said to my friend, I said, you know, I've done everything I wanted to do musically in my career. I've been on albums. I've recorded live albums. I've played on big stages. I've been in front of 10,000 people a couple times. I've played all kinds of different types of shows, different environments. And I've been to Nashville, and I've been to New York. The only thing I haven't done is gone to the NAMM show, which is probably one of the bucket list things I'd like to do, you know. But other than that, I mean, there's really not very much I haven't done musically that I've wanted to do. I have a recording studio. I've worked on albums and produced them and engineered them. And
you have a drum community that loves to talk about equipment and drums and stuff like that.
We have that too. That's awesome too.
It is awesome.
You know, I have plenty of drums and plenty of cymbals and plenty of things. But with all that being said, the most important thing was keeping my marriage and my family together and having closeness with my children. And I can say that I'm close to my children. I'm close to my grandchildren. So when that was happening, I get to the 90s, I start working. Then all of a sudden the kids are growing up and they're starting to get ready to leave the house. They weren't quite there in the 90s, but the oldest one was starting to show that sign. And you were starting to go like, what am I going to do? And you felt like, well, I don't have nothing to do, but I've raised kids. And now what am I going to do? And that's when you said to me, I'm just going to work at Food Town. And I said, that's absolutely ridiculous. You can't do that.
I'm not above it. Right. You know what I mean?
Well, no, it's not about above or beyond. It's about there was more for you in life, and there was more opportunity for you. You were already writing for magazines and doing things.
Yeah, but I was so immersed in family life, so immersed. I mean, I don't think people realize, unless you're listening and you're a part of a family where you have children and you're working and you're both working 2 jobs and you're doing, you know, I don't think people realize how much time it takes to mother, to just not just bathe the kids every day and get their food cooked and get them fed and cleaned and washed and entertained and taught, but it's exhausting. It doesn't stop at 5 o'clock. You don't go home.
Exactly.
It goes into the middle of the night when they're all getting up and who's throwing up and who's just cranky. And
right.
It was
and now it was time to change.
Right. So it wasn't like I was thinking I wasn't going to do anything else but that, but I was completely immersed in that. And it was what I wanted to do. I loved that. But you started getting super busy when you were traveling with that next company, and you were traveling sometimes 4 times a week on the road. That was really a hard season for us. And I guess what I want our friends here to know is that keeping things together is different than keeping things together and flourishing. Like, some people keep their lives together and their marriage is intact and they're like, I'm just trying to keep it together, you know? We wanted a lot more than that. We wanted it to flourish. We wanted to feel the love, to know the love, to have the affection, to look forward to coming home and seeing each other and being with each other.
Right.
Right? So when you were working actually for a couple of years, we together made that decision, you know, like, yeah, okay, but you're home on the weekends and you're home on Fridays. But there's always been changes back and forth touching on how do we find a balance? And it's not an easy thing, is it? It's like with every different season in life, it kind of can tip this way or tip that way.
I think it's we're constantly working at it. And what ended up happening for you was you took a job. The first time was part-time. You flourished at that job, and then the opportunity came for you after that job ended abruptly, that's a whole story in itself that I don't think we want to go into today. You had the opportunity to go back to school, and you started your master's program. And the master's program required of me, when I was home, to stay home with the kids, you know, and for you to go to school at night. And that started that process, the end of the 90s. You got your master's. And then when we got down here to Florida, then you wanted to start your doctorate. And it was like a whole new season of life. And since we've been down here the last 23 years now, 23 years, wow. Long time we've been down here. I mean, you've gone from master's to getting a PhD to teaching at university, you know. And in the middle of all that, our kids grew up, started having grandkids. I mean, a lot of wonderful things happened during that time. But what was the thing that stayed the same? We decided we were going to stay connected to one another. And that connection happened, and we always were tapped into, no matter what little turn we were going to do, be it was how we're going to buy a car, or where we're going to move in for a house, or what we're going to do for a job. We always talked about these things, prayed about these things, and always trusted together that we would get direction what to do next. And that's how we kind of live life. And it's we were sitting back the other day, and this is where this came from. We were talking at coffee time, and we basically started talking about this, and I realized that there's a lot of people that don't get this. They wonder how you do this, and I couldn't do this without her being right next to me. If I didn't have her right next to me, I couldn't do what I'm doing. If she didn't approve of what I was doing, I wouldn't be doing this. And approval is she knows my heart, so she wants to prove it. Just like I want her to write her books, I want her to do her research papers, I want her to go to the places she needs to go and speak to the people you need to speak to.
But you miss me when I'm away.
There's no doubt about that, and that's the challenges of being away. We've dealt with that too, where we get up in different time zones, and I have to talk to you, and
we coordinate that. But it's not a burdensome thing. It's an effort. It is an effort, but it's not burdensome because it's our life. And one of the things I wanted to say about what you're saying is, yes, that underlying thread that's always there, wanting to be together. But the thing that we started in our marriage that has never stopped is that we know that it's more than just the two of us. Right?
That's where we started with that song, didn't we?
That's right.
More.
Oh, stop.
Okay. I can't sing anyhow, so you don't want to hear me sing it.
Yeah, but you can play it, and maybe.
I could, but I never have.
Right. Well, it was one of those one-hit wonders in the 80s. It was a one-hit
wonder.
Anyway, we started with really walking out our relationship as we walked with the Lord our God, knowing that it is more than just you and I, that as strong and as loyal as you can be, and as strong and as loyal as I can be, we are just like anybody else. We have faults and weaknesses, and we needed the grace of God and the strength of God to help make us strong. So it wasn't just like, okay, God's out there and he's looking over our marriage, and isn't this nice? Like, we love him and we know he blesses our marriage. No, it's he's in here with us, and we would hold hands.
That's what our rings mean.
We would hold hands together and pray, sometimes through tears. Lord, show us what to do in this next season. Provide the funds, Lord, for the car. Or, Lord, we need another couple gigs to make it through for the rent money. Like, we would pray and trust God together. So kind of like that, like being on the same page, that makes the work-life balance a lot easier. Because even though there continue to be sacrifices and tears sometimes, and sometimes arguments,
We argued?
Never. I'm not a feisty person at all, and you're just so chill. You are so Mr. Chill.
Oh, yeah, I'm super chill. That's me. Just call me super chill.
In any case, I just I think that it's doable. Kind of if you go off the rails a little bit with your work-life balance, like where you're kind of working too much and it can become like workaholic-y or something like that, well, then you got to just pull right back on again to get back in that balance space. So it's not like a one-time thing. I'm going to have work-life balance, and then you have it. No, it's a thing practice. You're constantly working.
And that's the word practice has become a big word for like even everything I talk about in my day job. Because I teach safety, and awareness of what's going on around you is one of the principles of safety, and awareness is a practice. To get to the place where you're less stressful, I've had to learn how to walk, breathe, and rejoice. Those words are all part of like the practice of slowing my pace down and meditating. Breath is part of meditation. It's part of the yoga class we do. It's part of prayer. It's letting it in, letting it out, and it's slowing down the pace. And that's something I had to learn how to do because I was always got to keep going. So walk, breathing, and rejoicing, being grateful for life, just being grateful. Mm-hmm. Those are all things that we encourage each other in, and that came out of our coffee time, those things.
Oh, yeah.
And now the addition of the word play, which is on the back of my T-shirts, by the way, that's those 4 words on the back of the T-shirt. That has to do with, as we've gotten older, we've learned that we've got to enjoy as much of life as possible. That's why we we do the things we do. You do your YouTube channel, I do my YouTube channel, I play drums. But it's not just playing drums and doing YouTube channel. What it is for us, it's being together, it's being with our grandkids, it's doing things together. And believe it or not, we do a lot. We're very active people. And maybe not active like I've got to go play golf every week or I got to go fishing every week. If those were hobbies of mine, I would be doing them. You know, I find the music's more fun for me. So that's my fun.
I did always wish we would get into tennis. You know, that's something we didn't get into. No, it's true. I played tennis in high school.
We could try pickleball anytime you want, Steph.
No,
you know?
I hurt my knee with pickleball a couple years ago, and I love having.
I think walking is pretty much where.
You need to say, let's walk, Steph.
I know. It's my responsibility to figure out, let's walk.
It's your job.
It's my job. Anyhow, what today was about, what we were trying to talk about today was just basically that making this work requires two people that want to make it work, you know, and it's that closeness that comes. And one of the keys we found is if you're not communicating with one another, by the way, she got a PhD in communication. So this is your topic, but this was the way we were before you had a PhD in communication.
The way we were. Sorry. Are we telling them what we want to tell them? Are you getting anything? I don't even know
what we're trying to tell them.
Are you getting something from this? It's communication. It's staying close every day. Even if it just use the 2-minute rule. Even if you just have to get up 2 minutes early.
What is this 2-minute rule? I never heard this thing.
You know, I know we never talked about it.
I never heard of this 2-minute rule.
I heard the other day on a podcast someone talking about this practice. They were talking about actually contemplative prayer and exercise and things like that. If you just do a 2-minute rule, you know the 2-minute rule where you just give it 2 minutes a day. And I thought to myself, we never called it the 2-minute rule, but that's how we started. We started with, well, you know, are we going to really want to get up, you know, at 6:30 rather than, you know, 20 of 7? We thought, you know, we could do it for 2 minutes, have a couple sips of coffee. Let's try it. So anybody could do something like that for the 2-minute rule. It doesn't matter if the baby got up in the middle of the night and you were up for 2 hours, or if you fell asleep at 1 o'clock because you were watching a good movie. You can get up 2 minutes early and give your spouse 2 minutes. And when you do, even if it's real sleepy in the beginning and you're wiping the sleep out of your eyes, you know, all of a sudden it's going to become, it's like life. It becomes life to you, and you'll be moving into 4 minutes and 5 minutes and 7 minutes, and then turn back one day and say, did we just spend 45 minutes here with a second cup of coffee?
Yeah.
I didn't know you had all that stuff in you. I'm glad you shared it with me. Thank you. And here's what happens too. Like, you know, all the terrible stories about people getting divorced after 40 years, 30 years, 20 years. They were so in love, this and that. How did he run away with his secretary? Or how did she run away with that professor? You know, other people begin to listen to you. You begin to share your heart with someone else who wants to listen. And if you're not doing that with your spouse and keeping it the foundation,
well, that's the
that
problem.
Can be very dangerous stuff.
That's where a lot of people get in trouble, as they get online and then they start connecting with somebody online and they don't even know this person, but they connect emotionally because the person is not there, and they start talking emotionally.
And that person will ask them questions like, well, why do you feel that way? Or, you know, have you always felt this way? And giving the other person a chance to share their heart.
And by sharing something with a stranger, it's easier. And then the stranger responds in a way that's different than your spouse. And then all of a sudden you got a heart issue, and now you're entangled in something that can cause real problem.
It can.
For you.
It can. And I'm so grateful that hasn't happened to us. But you know,
that's been the work. That's the practice. It's like we know what's going on in each other's heads. Like, by the way, I will be quite honest with you. She knows the code to my phone. I know the code to her phone. Not that we ever use that for that reason, other than I hand her the phone and say, can you do this? And she can't get in, and she knows how to get in the code.
Of course.
It's like no big deal. There's no hidden. There's no secrets here.
Right.
It's a no secret zone. Like we are that connected. We are one. And that's the way we look at it.
Exactly.
And I think that when people have those secrets, that's when they get themselves in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it starts young, where you have separate lives,
right,
then it becomes really easy for it to continue that way. And then maybe you go 20 years and you raise a couple of kids, and then you're just not even close.
Not into each other because you don't know each other. Because that person's not the same guy he was at 18. Or that gal's not the same, and it has nothing to do with body or attraction. It has everything to do with, I don't even know her anymore. Or I don't even know him. When did you start thinking that way?
Sad.
It's very sad. And so, like, I think, I'd like to say we just happened on this, because we certainly didn't read a book or go to therapy or anything like that.
No.
But I don't think it's just happening on us when we were, in our early 20s. I think it was, we really did ask God, make our relationship strong. Show us how to make our relationship strong.
It goes back to that first exchange when we were dating, and I sent you a letter and you sent me a letter, and we had the same scripture in the letter.
And it crossed in the mail.
And we both got it that same week, and we talked on the phone for 2 hours, and I had to sell a symbol to pay for that phone bill because I called you from a phone booth on Kennedy Boulevard.
Did I ever tell you how impressed I was that you did that?
I paid you I sold that 22-inch Swish ride.
I did.
Swish crash.
But I was much more impressed later on after we got married, because I didn't really know anything about Swish symbols or ride symbols or anything at that point when we were dating. It was before I started working for Modern Drummer or any of that. And when I learned how expensive a symbol was and how much of an equipment geek you are, you and your friends are, I thought, oh, he sold that symbol for me.
I did.
I know, I love that.
But the scripture was Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. Yep.
We still trust him even to this day.
Yep.
Even through all the things, the heartaches and the ups and downs, still trusting God.
That's what got us through the heartaches. If we didn't have that, it would have been very hard to get through a lot the last couple of years. It's been a tough couple.
And so that's why, I don't really like to talk about this lately. It's funny because it seems like I'm being asked at different places to talk about this a little bit more and more, maybe because we're married so long now. But I definitely don't have all the answers. I know you don't either. It's just a practice. It's a daily practice. It's allowing ourselves to be broken.
Right.
And to be vulnerable with each other, and to admit the weakness, admit the wrong, admit the sin, admit the oversight. It's such a little thing, but I was so upset that I locked you out yesterday. I was so upset that I locked you out of the house.
To lock me out.
Don't go into that.
I'm not going into that.
But there's little things and there's big things that we have to humble ourselves and say, I blew it. I didn't mean to do that. I wasn't thinking of you, right? I was thinking of something else. And so besides communication and taking the time and starting out with the foundation of the Lord, I think forgiveness is an overarching theme to help make that work-life balance. If you're still listening and still with us, you're saying, come on, you're talking about faith in the work-life balance. You're talking about forgiveness. Yeah, because if we don't have these things in our life working, then we are running in circles and we are walking in anger. We are frustrated. We are not ourselves. We are not our best selves. We are not our best selves at work. And no matter how much time you take off, whether you go on the splendid vacation of the universe, travel to the stars or the moon, you're not going to feel better in your marriage or more fulfilled, or it's not going to flourish if you're not together,
Forgiveness is the one thing that Jesus told his disciples to do. That was the one thing. It's in the one prayer that Jesus said, pray, that we all know. Anybody that's a Christian knows the Our Father. It's the one line in the Our Father. It says, forgive
our trespasses
as we forgive those who trespass against us.
That's
so that
right.
means forgive those who hurt us.
Yeah.
And that's not a maybe. If you want to, if you feel like you want to do this, that's why you do it. I did it for you, and you'll do it because you have me in you. And that's how we look at it, and that changes the ball game as far as that. And that's the difference. That's the difference in having a relationship with God versus just some kind of religious thing.
The reality of Jesus in our lives. And you have forgiven some major trespasses of mine. And
me too.
I have forgiven some major trespasses of yours. But honestly, it's not the big things that happen once in a while. It's the daily little foxes, as the Bible said. It's the little things that mount up, that if you don't keep clean and clear, they pile up, and resentment piles up, and it's hard to feel affection for the person that you're with, or that you want to be with him or her, if you let those things pile up. Because then your heart is full of things that aren't good.
Right. And
too full for the things that are good.
That's it. That's the key. So anyhow, that's kind of what we wanted to talk about this time. I don't know if this is going to get everybody will be checking out on square one, or if they get to the end of this thing, who knows?
It's okay. There's a few of you who have asked us to do these kinds of chats. And again, it's not going to be for everybody, but we give it to you, we share, we open our hearts to you because we care.
Yep.
And we're glad you came today.
Yep. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for being part of the conversation. This is Earl and Steph saying, see ya.
Bye.